What's up, everybody? Chozo Nomad here again with some more KSP action. After the recent events that occurred on the moon, a new frigate has been launched with the name Jebill in honor of those lost. It is equipped with two of our latest drone probes. These little guys are called Sparrows. They come equipped with two RCS probes. They are not manned. They got this nice little ion drive here with some linear RCS thrusters on the back just to boost it along in case it needs some help with ion thrusters. That's quite often that they need help. Ion thrusters are very, very weak, I've noticed. Take a long time to burn. But they are small enough to mount on the frigates, which is nice, makes them easy to transport. And the KFS Jebill is going to meet up with the KFS Tesla out there on Minmus. So let's go ahead and set up our slingshot maneuver and we can start heading out there. I never get tired of that. It always looks pretty. Nice and gorgeous. Gorgeous game. Just burning around here. However, you'll notice that I'm actually burning at half power right now. That's because the center of mass has been thrown off by these Sparrows that I've added on the outside. The center mass is higher than the thrust, and you'll actually see here I forget about it and I start to thrust up a little bit and the ship will start to drift down because the center of mass is off. That's something you always want to be aware of when you're making like modular ships that you can add stuff to. Like I mentioned in my previous video with the Loon Habitation module, is that center of mass will, if you don't mount it just right, it's going to throw you off a lot. And with this ship, if you throw off that center of mass with these two Sparrows, you have to throttle way down in order to get it back under control, which is not the most efficient way to do things, and you know I lack efficiency. So I just gotta get this guy back under control here and excuse me, and finish my burn out there to the moon, slingshot on out to Minmus. Just slowly step it back up, keep it in control. And here we are. I don't like how it reversed my orbit with the capture on the moon. They have to deal with the end body problem. You know, that they can't actually calculate the gravitational effect of every body on one entity at a time. It would just crash the game engine. So, look how close we get to the moon. That's got to be one of the closest passes I've done so far. So yeah, switch around so I can do a little bit more of a burn, get a little bit more control so I can get closer to Minmus with less fuel usage here. Just flipping around, and there's Kerbin. That's cool. Very, very cool. Have I mentioned how much I like this game? Alright, here we are at Minmus already. I cut out the part where I actually arrived at Minmus. Probably shouldn't have. It was really cool to try and just watch it approach slowly, but here I am, trying to dock these two frigates, the KFS Tesla and the KFS Jebill. I did not actually design them to work this way. Originally I was just going to have the two ships float close to each other and then transfer drones over. But, as you know, with these larger ships, it is very difficult to get them with zero relative velocity to each other. So I decided to go ahead and dock them together off this tiny, tiny little clampatron along the bottom. But there is going to be a little bit of a problem in the fact that the solar panels on the bottom of each of them, I had to retract those manually, but the solar panels on the bottom of each of them actually stop the little mini Clampatron Junior from working effectively. So after fighting that for a little bit, I decided just to try something else. Just twist the ship ever so slightly. Right here, yeah. Just twist it about 20-15 degrees maybe, just so I can get those solar panels out of the way and I can get this Clampatron working and get these two ships docked and carry on with the mission. Get those Sparrows out there on their first flight, because I have not actually effectively tested these yet, only in low Kerbin orbit. And then, doink, there we go. It is now one entity, one giant ship. And that gosh, that looks goofy. Two little ships offset like that. And here we go. We got John stepping out to inspect the new drones that he will be receiving on his ship. Also give his condolences to the twin brothers, believe it or not, of Jebediah and Bill. It would seem that there's quite a few of them. Quite a few Jebediahs and quite a few Bills. Regardless, here comes Jebediah over to talk about the transfer process and speak with John about the previous events that have happened. Just trying to scoot his way over here. Again, I have the same problem with keeping relative velocities the same, so I can actually keep them still enough to talk to each other. A little friendly banter here and there. And in doing this, trying to cancel off this velocity, you'll see here in a minute, I actually get him stuck trying to cancel off this velocity. And that was not something I intended to do. And I actually got quite concerned here. I was afraid I'd have to end the flight. I'd have to do all that over again. And yep, there he goes. The Kraken pulled him in. He's laughing it off too. You gotta love Jebediah. He's gonna fight with the thrusters here for a minute. And doink! There he goes, he's out. Yeah, so they carry on their little conversations, and Jebediah returns to his ship, and John will oversee the process. Just enjoying the view. You got Moon and Kerbal way out there. Or Kerbal, whatever his name is. So now he's just going to inspect the drones themselves, these cutting-edge Sparrow drones. They do have a full suite of data gathering capabilities on board them. They've got the gravitational detector, the accelerometer, barometer, temperature sensor, all that fun stuff, right there in the head of the device. It has been mentioned by some of the programmers, though, that the AI is not fully functional yet. There might be a few bugs that here and there just bounce it around a little. And as you can see, those two probe bodies attached underneath the wings, those are just attached with little Clampotron Juniors as well, which does make them reloadable, which is nice if I ever want to resupply these things. And so, just swing back around, check out this other one. It's a very, very simple design, these ships here. Just a little probe body, probe head for control, little ion engine in the back, a couple things of RCS, iron girders. Or not iron, iron would be way too dense and heavy to get into space. Not very efficient to bring something that heavy into space. I say that and I'm the one putting frigates out here in orbit. So as the senior officer of the two ships here, John has had command of a ship longer than Jebediah has, so he gets first pick of the drones that will be transferred over to his ship, and the other drone will be sent off to do its mission around Minmus. Try and say that 5 times fast, and continue gathering data, atmospheric samples, ground samples, all that fun stuff. And here we go. The maiden flight of the Sparrow. This is the Sparrow S1. This was the first model produced to be effectively attached to any kind of ship. I'll just begin its little journey here. These little guys are quite fun to drive. The SAS tends to be not quite as effective because the probe body is much smaller than any SAS module or cockpit, with much lower torque. So it can't quite cancel velocity out as much as you'd like if you're doing some lateral movements or vertical movements or anything like that. But it is enough to be manageable. This design isn't finalized yet. The designers back on Kerbin are trying to tweak it as much as they can to get it just right. Still a cool little ship. Of course, I'm biased on that topic. I'm sure everybody who ever creates a spaceship is biased on whether or not their ship is awesome. Now see, I had to turn off the ion engines when I mounted them to the ship itself, because if you don't go in and manually turn off engines when you attach a ship or a probe or whatever to another ship, those engines will keep firing. So you have to go in and turn them off manually, and whenever you detach you have to turn them back on. And now it's off! Off to take care of its mission. This game is so gorgeous. Did I mention that? Alright, here we go. Launching of the first probe. After we get some quick data readings. So, as you can see, I'm about 5,000 meters off the surface of Minmus right now. And here's the atmospheric test. And in vacuum still. Okay, so it would appear that Minmus does not have any form of atmosphere. I was mistaken earlier. Well, mistakes happen. Can't dwell on them too much. Just go ahead and launch his little probe here. And we'll be on our way. You may notice I'm hurtling towards the surface very quickly. And that is an oversight on my part, and the fact that I forgot that drone bodies take electricity and do not generate their own. So this is a dead probe that I have no control over, and we're just watching it careen into the surface. So I just decided to take one last little beauty shot in its last couple moments, right before impact. Well, that went well. Time for the next one. So hopefully this one will go just a little bit better. Now these little probes are actually much more nimble than the Sparrow itself because they're so tiny. All that torque, the torque inside the probe body is much more effective. And as I said, it's very precise movement. Very little overcorrection or anything like that. They're actually a lot of fun to drive for their short little lifespan. We'll see how this goes. Well, the probe body actually survived this time, so I consider that a success. As it just rolls down the hill here. And because it's rolling like a wheel, I think this is the first rover we've actually had on Minmus. Okay, not really. Now we've launched those two. There's one thing left to do, and that is get this bad boy on the ground. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have retracted the solar panels before trying this, but a little too far into it now. I'm trying to use RCS to burn off as much as I can, but still keep a little before I hit the ground, because the ion drive is not effective. And there it goes. Definitely ineffective now. Aw, man! Both of them got ripped off. Did the ground just swallow them? Interesting. Apparently the surface of Minmus can eat stuff. But this has plenty of electricity to last it for a very long time. So as such, let's check and make sure all of its instruments are still working. Light works, accelerometer works, all that fun stuff. And given that it's now incapable of flight, this will have to remain here as just a little point of reference. Maybe we can use it to establish a base later on, or just keep tabs on the environment of Minmus and all that. And have to conserve electricity. There are 2 batteries on this thing, so I have to turn off one of them before I go away so I can make sure the it actually has power when we get back to it. It will be on standby, capable of receiving orders in the future. And I guess that's it for now. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.